Britain is becoming a nation on benefits. New figures reveal that more than 4 million people are now claiming universal credit without having to look for work. This is the highest number on record, accounting for half of all claimants, and an increase of 50% since Labour took office. The government has, as usual, blamed the previous government's handling of legacy benefits, but the country is ebbing further towards a welfare crisis. Cost of disability payments is forecast to be £100 billion a year by the end of the decade. Government has promised to act, but unemployment is rising and Labour backbench opposition to any welfare reform is allowing Britain's already bloated welfare bill to move further towards breaking point. Well, I'm joined now by Media Campaign Manager at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood, and, of course, my panel. William, thank you for coming in. This is really serious, isn't it? Because part of the reason we're going to have tax rises is this extra number of people who are getting benefits, no questions asked.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it speaks to something about the soul of our nation, where you have 4 million people who are just sitting there at home, not doing anything at all. And I don't think that's good for their mental health. It's not good for economic productivity, and it's not good for the country. And also remember, taxpayers are going to be picking up the bill for this. I mean, the Universal Credit Bill is about £87 billion, which is about 28% of our overall welfare and benefits bill. And you start to think about where's this going to be in 1 year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time if this trend keeps continuing. And that also raises the question of Rees is going to raise the taxes in this budget. If this bill keeps going up, is she going to have to come back for more?
And are there the jobs available? Because currently unemployment is rising, vacancies are declining, economic growth is sluggish. If they were given incentives to get back into work, what would they do? Well,
I think that the problem with the current economy at the moment is this Labour government is, to some extent, actually destroying a lot of the productive areas of the economy. I mean, let's just take the employees' national insurance hike to begin with. Many businesses have decided not to give their employees pay rises, not hire more employees, not expand, not do more investment, and that's having a knock-on on people who want to get into work, especially young people. I mean, this is quite a stark statistic, but now 1 out of 8 young people, people my age, 25, 26, are not in employment, education or training. I mean, what does that say about the state of the nation when you have young people like myself who are not going up to work every single day? And actually, a lot of those people are claiming universal credit. About 80% of them are claiming universal credit for mental health issues, which also says that, well, actually, the best thing to solve their mental health issues is to get a job and get out there in the real world.
And there's a lot of evidence that that is the case, particularly for male unemployment.
Absolutely.
That it is male unemployed people are likely to have poor mental health. What can the government do about this? What initiatives could they take? What policies have worked in the past?
Well, my view, actually, is, first of all, you need to reverse the employers' hike on national insurance. You need to give small businesses, medium enterprises the ability to hire young people. And also, you need to do with play with the Employment Rights Bill, which is going to end up giving businesses loads of red tape, meaning that people can come into employment and essentially, sue the business, take sick leave from basically day one without any level probation period. That's also not good for young people. Also, actually, a more controversial point, when I was young, I worked on a 0 hours contract for a private teaching company, and I absolutely loved it. It was great. Wasn't paid an amazing amount, but you know what? It got me out every single 3 to 4 times a week, able to earn me a bit more money, and I didn't mind that I didn't have any set hours, because sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. But nevertheless, when I was 16, 17 years old, I was working, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think more young people need that in the country today.
Kevin, let me bring you in, because you're a businessman, you employ people.
Yeah.
What do you think Labour should do to make employment conditions more attractive? And what element of stick is it reasonable to use to get these 4 million people at least to look for jobs?
I think the difference in how the Labour Party talks about this compared to the Taxpayers Alliance is just probably with a bit more compassion for people living a life on benefits, which is not, you just characterised it as sitting around all day doing nothing. But what is a problem in the economy is there are too many people, and Labour did inherit this. And I think there's a review being undertaken by Alan Milburn, a former health secretary. Labour's put tens of millions of pounds into new apprenticeship schemes, into digging into how you get people off benefits. There are advisors going to be put in job centres, which was controversial to some, right? I'm sorry, in GP centres. Do you remember we talked about that? So there's a raft of details aimed at getting into areas of high unemployment to try and bring people back into work. And, you know, this characterisation from the Taxpayers Alliance, who I can't remember funds them, about how Labour's managing the economy. You know, we have been the fastest growing G7 economy in the first half of the year. The interest rate environment is stable. You know, I'm a signed-up capitalist. I believe in companies, profits, create jobs, pays taxes, make this country better. Labour want people to have more money in their pockets, and the budget is about NHS, national debt, and money in pockets.
Okay, but to be fair, part of the reason interest rates have gone down is because the economy's been so sluggish, as you know.
I always think, Jacob, that's a fair point you make, but there has to be confidence in those leading the government, and there is in the economy.
Would you like to see the NI increase reversed? Do you think that that would be affordable? And the Employment Rights Bill, do you think that's helpful in these circumstances?
So, as an example, right, overnight, the National Insurance, and we currently employ 85 people across the country, that cost us £100,000. Now, nobody likes unplanned impacts on the profit and loss like that, but the country's overall books needed it. On Monday night, Rachel Reeves said, I was there, in number 11, she knows that businesses took a hit in that budget, okay, but she understands the importance of what we do for the economy. And so I think that the budget will not bring anything onerous again on businesses. That's what I hope.
All right. Andrea, what would reform do to get 4 million people back into work?
I can tell you what I'm doing in Lincolnshire, actually. But first of all, I mean, I think that I don't believe that people's got and the markets have got confidence in Labour, like you said, the Employment Rights Bill, but also the driving away wealth and job creators. So, I mean, what I'm doing in Lincolnshire is a Get Lincolnshire Working scheme. We've got, obviously, the coastal areas, areas of deprivation. So it's looking at the reasons. We've got seasonal work. But what I'm trying to do is bring a parity of esteem. We saw how Blair and Labour pushed everybody the academic route. And we haven't got enough builders, enough trades, so I'm building a trades college. I'm going to make sure it's the biggest one in the UK. I'm trying to have a parity of esteem between trades, vocational, technical qualifications, and transport and infrastructure. Because if we don't get these things right, especially in rural communities, you'll know about rural communities, Jacob, and people can't get to work, I'm looking at how people can be trained. We're looking at, until we get the transport and infrastructure right, can people be trained online more? And also what I'm doing as well. I mean, it's a very sad fact on our old government, actually, that literacy and numeracy was on a 10-word downward spiral. So I've proposed to...
literacy and numeracy improved hugely from 2010 to 2024 overall.
Not in adults.
Adults, but in children, the people leaving school were doing much better.
Adults, I'm talking about adult literacy and numeracy. So what I'm proposing is to... get rid of ESOL, because Lincolnshire spends £1 million a year on that. And I'm proposing that it's literacy for all, because we've got our own, you know, working class communities who haven't even got the basic grasp of literacy of a 12-year-old.
All right, William, what sticks do you think are needed in addition to the carrots that Andrea's proposing?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is we need to bring assessments back into person. I think that, unfortunately, within the last Conservative government, and, you know, the reasons for this due to COVID, it went online. But the issue is, once COVID ended, the Conservatives put no real plan in place to actually get that back in person. So I believe that. I think there's now 9 out of 10 assessments for welfare are done over Zoom, which I don't think is acceptable considering where it was previously pandemic, where it was the complete other way around. I also think that there does just need to be more general support of young people. I think that 1 out of 8 young people not being in education, employment or training is an incredibly depressing place to be in the country. And also, if the Labour government is interested in economic growth, it should be really focusing on that bracket of 18 to 24-year-olds, whether it comes to providing them job opportunities in small businesses, whether it's by not punishing wealth, whether it's by not punishing aspiration in the terms of their rhetoric. So I think there's a few things that they could do, and obviously we'll have to see what happens in the budget, but I'll be honest with you, I don't have massive high hopes for what might come in the budget.